Namaste, everyone. Christian Long, life enhancement consultant, giving a big and beautiful shout out on this Monday evening here in Fresno, California, on the Healer's Journey, day 17 of 31 in Fresno, California. I've never ever been in Fresno. This is my very first time. This is exciting. So earlier this morning, I was in San Francisco, said goodbye to the girls, hugs and kisses, tears all around. They couldn't wait to get me out of there as quickly as humanly possible. I remember asking, was I a good housemate? Was I a good house guest? Did I do everything right? I did dishes twice, so I was super proud of myself. Keeping it clean, keeping it healthy. And when they brought back the clean clothes, they were the most adorable, teeny tiny baby folds I've ever seen. So all of my clothes were folded by like some weird machine, and they were tiny. I thought they took all my clothes and changed them for tiny boy clothes. There's My shirts were small, my pants were small, my underwear was small, my socks were small, everything was small. I go, what is happening here? But here we are. So super grateful for that service. Supposedly that service was also offered in New York City and Jersey City for a long time. I never experienced it. I know you could drop off your stuff, they would do it, and then you come back and pick it up. I didn't know there was door-to-door service, so that's pretty baller. Um, so it was about a 3-hour drive from San Francisco to Fresno. Um, I did 4 healings today, so it's kind of like healing on the go, which that's the ideal, right? So I just pull off to the side of the road, make sure I get Wi-Fi reception, have my salt bowl here off to the side, make sure my laser crystal is clean, my disintegrated crystal is clean, and we're ready to party. And so it was great being an instrument of goodwill to serve the clients that we're karmically bound to help uplift, to alleviate their pain, sorrow, and suffering so they can move their lives forward and be greater instruments for other people. And it's interesting because there was a woman who, her and I connected maybe 2.5 years ago on social media, and then she's been on the Facebook page on and off for about 2 years, and she has been an aspiring healer, And she goes, hey, if you're going to be in the Fresno area, let me know. I'm right around the corner. Let's get together. And I said, yeah, perfect. Here's a spot. It was a coffee donut shop that I recommended. I don't know the area, but I know how to find a place through Google Maps. Thank you, Google Maps. We're always adding so much value, and all you take is all of our personal information and sell it to other companies for advertising dollars. But, whatever. Remember, if something is free, you're the product. Never forget that. If something is free, you're the product. But it was really good seeing her in person, because we did a consultation maybe 2.5 years ago, and then we met up, we had a conversation, and I realized something. And I'm sure she would be fine with me sharing this because I'm not sharing like the finer details of what we talked about. And she openly expressed this. But it's like 2 years ago, she was struggling with certain things preventing her from being of service, right? To helping humanity, to uplift humanity, to be an instrument for the great teachers, for the great ones that guide the cosmos and the development of humankind and other kind. And here we are 2 years later, and she's still kind of stuck, right? She still hasn't moved that part of her life forward of wanting to be an instrument and wanting to be compensated for the work that she does. And it gave me a greater appreciation and respect for the school of Pranic healing and Arhatic yoga, because you can come into this school either not knowing anything about energy healing, meditation, spirituality. You can come into this school and get up to speed very, very quickly on the energy body, the aura, the chakras, the meridians, what is a chakra, how to clean a chakra, how to energize a chakra, how to stabilize it, and then how to heal certain conditions and ailments relatively quickly, right? A basic pranic healing class is all day Saturday, all day Sunday. It's a 16-hour class. It's about $350. It's been the same price for about 20 years. And in that weekend, you learn how to heal yourself, you learn how to heal others, and then you learn how to do distant healing. And so you don't need to read 5,000 books. You don't need to listen to 10,000 podcasts. You don't need to be on YouTube for the rest of your life. watching videos. Within a 16-hour course and a book that's like $30, you now have the ability to produce miraculous healings for your loved ones and an opportunity to earn income as a healer. And I've realized there's a big um, there's a big component of poverty consciousness among healers. There's the desire to serve, there's the desire to help, to uplift, right? But there's also an inability to receive. So they don't like to receive compliments, they don't like to receive referrals, they don't like to receive monetary compensation because of negative pride, because of low self-esteem, low self-worth, not being good enough, right? And I had to work through many of those things myself over the past 17 years as being a professional energy healer. So I get it, right? I have a lot of compassion for those people that are at that point, but they have to get out of their way and they have to offer a product or service that's of value, that produces a result for people, right? So if somebody says, hey, I want to hire you for healing on a migraine headache, and you can effectively take away that migraine headache, you should be compensated for that. If somebody has stress and anxiety and fear, you should be able to take away that stress, anxiety, or fear, right? And then that should be compensated because it's an exchange of energy. We're not really much of a barter system back in the day, like, all right, I have this and you have that, and I want what you have, and maybe you want what I have, and let's exchange, let's barter for that. We have currency. We have Bitcoin. We have digital currency. We have Venmo. We have Cash Apps. We have all these different ways of transferring currency from one account to another account. So if you provide value for other people in the world of metaphysics, spirituality, meditation, yoga, healing, counseling, therapy, coaching, what have you, that should be compensated because people appreciate things that they pay for, right? It increases their karmic entitlement. It increases the receptivity because if something is given to you over and over and over and over and over again for free, we have a tendency not to value it, right? So that's kind of the conversation that her and I were having, that you got to charge people. You got to charge people. Who just gave a heart? I don't know who that was. Sometimes I can see your cute little faces come up on the screen. Sometimes I can't. So, and it made me think about like some of the things that she was saying because I've done the inner work around it over the years because I had blind spots, I had low self-esteem, I had insecurities, I had negative pride, right? And so I would come up with my own rationalizations as to why I couldn't do something. And then through training, through understanding with the blessings of God, the blessings of Grandmaster Chogo Koksui, the blessings of Pranic healing and Arhatic yoga teachings, I came to the realization that, how do I put this? You're raising your hand to say, I want to be an instrument of goodwill and the will to do good. I want to help alleviate the pain, sorrow, and suffering of others. And you're like, but I got to have a website to do it. But I got to have a t-shirt line to do it. But I got to have these crystals to do it. But I got to have this ashram, this spiritual center, this healing center, this yoga studio, these clothes, these peripherals, these Kriya Shakti rings, healing rings, clairvoyant rings. I need to have certain kinds of paraphernalia, whatever. So the person is creating more obstacles in the way of them serving than just saying, great ones, I'm here to be of service. Help me, help other people. Remember Jerry Maguire? Right? Remember Jerry Maguire? Help me, help you. Right? So if you are saying, I'm ready, willing, and able to be of service to the great teachers, they will part the seas for you, and they will bring the people into your life that you can help, that you can be of service for. And there is nothing, I repeat, there is nothing wrong with being compensated for helping other people. Right? Do doctors help people? Yes or no? Yes. They're compensated for that. True or not true? Ooh, the lights are coming on. That's kind of cool, right? What else? Nurses, do they help people? Yes or no? They're compensated, right? Roofers, do they help people? Yes or no? They're compensated, right? Right? So if other professions and people who are experts in their industry are helping people in whatever way, shape, or form, building a house, starting a nonprofit, business consulting, sales consulting, whatever it is, they're compensated, right? So why is it any different for a meditation teacher, for an energy healer, for a spiritual counselor? If you are producing positive results for people, if you're helping people, you should be compensated. If you're not helping people, then right, it wouldn't make sense to be compensated for it, right? So if you tell people, I'm here to help you with your migraine headache, and this is how I do it, and it's $100, $500, $1,000, whatever it is, and the person pays that, and at the end of your treatment, they still have the migraine headache, then you're not doing a very good job, and maybe you shouldn't be compensated for that, or maybe you should become more of an expert before you start asking to be compensated. Now, I've been a spiritual practitioner, a conscious yogi, for 22 years. It doesn't make me special. It doesn't make me better than anyone else. It just means I've had a pretty clear path of why I'm here on this planet, right? It's to evolve and it's to help other people evolve. It's to be inspired and inspire others. That's it. Super easy, right? I'm here to heal. It's funny because many years ago, I had a lot of resistance to doing that, right? I was like, yeah, but I want to be selfish. I just want to do my meditation practice, and I want everyone to leave me alone. I want the world to fade to black. What's up? Thank you for the heart. I want the world to fade to black. I just want to do my spiritual practice. Let me focus on oneness with God, oneness with my higher soul, and everyone else leave me alone, right? Isha and Namaste, right? So, funny, right? But that's not the fastest way to evolve. What's the fastest way to evolve? By Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui's explanation, it's one of the fastest ways, is meditation and service. Meditation and service. So you do your spiritual practice on a daily basis, and then you generate energy in your meditations, and then you use that energy to do what? To help alleviate the pain, sorrow, and suffering of other people. That's how one evolves. But if you're like, I'm just meditating for myself, forget everyone else. Maybe if you are under different circumstances, that would be appropriate. But if you're in a first world country and you're living with responsibilities, maybe that's what you're here to learn, right? It'd be different if you were born in Tibet and you're already immersed in isolation. You're already immersed around great spiritual teachers or yogis. That would make sense, right? That I'm just going to meditate. I'm going to go into a hermitage for 20, 30, 40, 50 years or more to achieve samadhi and illumination. I'm not here to be of service in that way. Understandable. But if you're in the first world country and you have a car, you have a house or rent payment, you have a partner, you have children, you have responsibilities, maybe that's part of your karma. Maybe that's part of your spiritual path. It's called the path of the householder, as opposed to the path of the sadhu or ascetic, the person that just is off in the mountains doing their own thing, right? So, again, what's my point? We need a spiritual teacher to show us the way. We need a spiritual teacher to show us the way, but because of negative pride, either we think we're above everyone or we think we're below everyone, we're unable to see the obvious truths that are right in front of us, right? So find a school, a healing school, a meditation school, a spiritual school that resonates with you, may not have all the answers, may not have everything, right? But it has a big part of what you need, want, desire, and how you're going to add value into the world, and then be in that school for a period of time. I've been part of Pranic healing for 17 years, and I still feel there's so many other things to learn within this school, and just because you learn something doesn't mean you've practiced it, and doesn't mean you've mastered it. That's why jumping from school to school to school, from religion to religion to religion, to spiritual practice to spiritual practice to spiritual practice, from healing modality to healing modality to healing modality, you're never developing mastery in producing miraculous results. So at the end of all of that jumping around, people have a tendency to be more confused at the end of 5 or 10 years than they were on the beginning of their path. So that's why I recommend find a school that you resonate with and then stick with it for a period of not a couple weeks or a couple months, but for several years, 3 to 5 years minimum, so you can start understanding the school mastering the technique, and then you get powerful feedback, right? Um, so we gave some recommendations for her. Forget the whole blog stuff for now. Just put an offer out into the world. Hey, this is how I can help you. This is the price of that help. Who's interested? I learned this many years ago in my own healing practice, and then working with other people to become more successful with their businesses, is focus on the first 3 clients, forget everything else. Because if you have 3 people that pay you for your product or service, you have a business, right? But what people think is, okay, I need a website, I need a blog, I need an online store, I need this, I need a logo, I need all these things. That's not a business. A business is a person willing to pay you for a product or service. That's it. That's a business. Now, obviously, there's scalability, there's teams, HR, marketing, sales, operations. Like, I get it. There's more to a business than just having customers paying for a product or service. But wouldn't you say that's more important than having the most beautiful website and no one ever buying anything? The most amazing blog and nobody buying anything? The most amazing book and nobody's purchasing it? Right? Does that make sense? So getting somebody to exchange their hard-earned money for your product or service, now you're in business. And then you build around that. Then you have proof of concept. Make sense? You don't have proof of if you think you have the greatest product or service on the planet, but nobody's ever bought it from you, well, there's your feedback. I have somebody very close to me that has lived under the delusion for not 1 year, not 1 decade, but over 2 decades, that his product or service is going to be revolutionary. Ishan knows what's up. It's going to be revolutionary. And I said, who have you brought it to? Who have you brought a prototype, a teeny tiny, itty bitty prototype of this product or service into the marketplace to get feedback, and not one person? So I said, how do you know that this is the greatest thing since sliced bread if no one has validated that concept, right? So I hope I left her on a more positive note. I hope I left her uplifted. I gave her a little challenge that she can implement this coming Monday with her social media following to get feedback, to practice proof of concept, because I'm a big believer of, look, it's not going to be perfect. One of my favorite terms from like 15 years ago, almost 15 years ago, was a woman who created a website and a product and a book called Imperfect Action. She no longer runs that website, called Imperfect Action. And she basically look, I don't know if this is a good product or service or idea, but I'm just going to put it out there in a raw form and get feedback from people. And from that feedback, she tweaks, she modifies, she adjusts to the marketplace. Because the marketplace at the end of the day is saying, this is what we want, this is what we don't want. Now, I agree that your product or service should be in alignment with the virtues, right? So you don't want to provide something into the marketplace that's going to cause injury to yourself, to others, to the planet, etc., right? Like, I don't recommend you starting a casino or a liquor store. Not a judgment against people who own casinos or liquor stores, but from the teachings I've received and what I understand about the Eightfold Path, it's not connected to right livelihood. Casinos, things like that. Liquor stores is not connected. Tobacco stores is not connected to right livelihood. Take it for what you want to take it for. But this has been my experience in Fresno. I booked my hotel room right down the street. I'm going to be driving there soon, but I wanted to jump on and kind of share a little bit about my viewpoints today. Healer's Journey, day 17 of 31. And I see this gentleman. There's a donut place right here. It's an Asian-owned donut place. It's kind of like a little rough around the edges. It's like a little hole in the wall, but they have very good donuts. It literally just says donuts. And I guess I'm in the middle of Fresno, and the middle of Fresno, I guess, is a rougher part of town as opposed to the north side, which is the more prosperous side. And then I think I'm in the rougher part of town, if I understand correctly. But I've been here for a few hours, talking with that person, doing a healing with a client, and now I'm, doing the stream with you guys. And there's this guy in his probably late 20s, early 30s that has a t-shirt on, shorts on, and he's laying in garbage, curled up in a ball on the sidewalk, right? And it reminds me of when Master Choa, the founder of Pranic Healing and Arhatic Yoga, came to California like 25, almost 30 years ago. Let me see, it would have been over 30 years ago when the feeding program got started. And he was walking around California. I forget exactly where he was. I'm not sure if it was outside of LA or not. But Master Choa saw all these people curled up on park benches, and he was asking the students, he goes, what's going on here? And he said, and the students were like, well, Master, these are people who don't have enough money to get their own place. Like, he couldn't understand why there was homelessness in one of the most prosperous states and prosperous countries in the entire world. He couldn't get that. And so he went over to the ATM, and he had an international business card, international like debit card, so you can only take out so much. So I think he took out $500, and then he just handed out $20 bills to all the homeless people that were in the park. And then he says, okay, well, we need to do more. And that was the birth of the feeding program. That was the birth of the feeding program. And they went to McDonald's, they bought a bunch of burgers, and then they just handed them out to people in the, I think they bought a couple hundred burgers. And they handed these burgers out to people that were homeless or in need. And so everywhere I've lived, from Sarasota, Florida, we had a feeding program. Newark, New Jersey, New York City, feeding programs. Denver, Colorado, feeding programs. This is one of the few times in my life that I haven't been facilitating a feeding program because I've been traveling. So it's a little harder to just, like, where do you serve? If you're driving all the time and you're healing, it's like, where do you serve? So there's a tremendous amount of need in the world. And so it's like we talk about goodwill and the will to do good. Goodwill and the will to do good. There are many, many people on the planet that have high ideals and aspirations that I want to be of service. I want to help people. I want to console others in their time of need. And then you look at their actions and there's a disconnect, right? There's a disconnect. Because when you say, okay, you want to be of service, I need your time. I don't really have a lot of time available. Okay, you want to be of service, I need your money. Money's tight right now. I don't really have a lot of money to give, right? So you don't want to give time, you don't want to give money. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to offer to alleviate the suffering of other people? How are you going to do it, right? So I look more and more, and I'm as guilty as this as anybody else. I might have done a little bit more work around this than most people, but I still have my levels of ignorance, and I'm still working on understanding higher levels of truth and embodying those higher levels of truth. But one thing I look at more and more and more is that quality of self-delusion. We're so masterful at lying to ourselves. We're so masterful at tricking ourselves into believing nonsense, right? Because I work with people all day long, right? I coach people the first 30 minutes of our session, then we do healing the last 30 minutes of our session. And it is fascinating and highly rewarding listening to somebody and then helping them have understanding so that they get themselves, right? Because it's never about the coach or the healer having understanding, right? Because who cares? If the coach, if the healer, if the mentor has understanding, but the person they're working with can't get that understanding, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. So you can have the greatest, most developed coach on the planet, but if they can't transmit and transfer that to their client, to their patient, to their mentee, what have you, it's pointless. It's like being a parent and you're a super advanced parent. You know so many parenting skills and techniques, but you can't apply it and integrate it into the life between you and your own child. Well, then what's the point? You're not doing a very good job. So that's what a good coach is. That's what a good healer is. That's what a good mentor is. It's talking at the level that where the person's at, and then gradually uplifting them, gradually bringing them from where they are to ultimately where they want to be. And some people go kicking and screaming. At certain times in my life of getting coaching and getting healing and getting mentorship, I fought tooth and nail. I was like, no, you don't understand. That's not how it is. This is how it is. Because what was I doing? I was defending my weaknesses. I was rationalizing my blind spots, my negative pride, my low self-esteem, my insecurities. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm special. No, you don't understand. I'm different. No, you don't understand. I have unique circumstances. All of that is nonsense. You guys hear me? All of it is nonsense. That means you're a disempowered soul. You don't understand. I'm special. I'm unique. I'm this. I'm that. All of it is negative pride. That's that self-delusion versus, okay, granted, this is where you're at right now, but where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? I had one client who wanted to help millions of people, couldn't help herself though. I go, you have to understand something. You're not helping yourself. You're not building a foundation of connecting to who and what you are as the soul of light, love, and power. So how are you going to help dozens of people, hundreds of people, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people? Do you understand what kind of responsibility that is and what kind of energy body you need to have in order to be of service to millions of people? Right? You have to be relatively developed. True or not true? So she was then, not now, she was deluding herself and deceiving herself, and she was believing her own lies, right? It's a dangerous game that we play with each other, and I highly recommend not playing that game. What is humility? Knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at. Knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at. So I remember one of the masters in pranic healing used to say this to me for many, many years. She goes, you are the janitor in the company who wants to be the CEO overnight. Not that you can't be the CEO, but you have to build up towards being a CEO. You can't go from the janitor slot of cleaning the bathrooms and emptying the trash and scrubbing the toilets to the next day being the CEO of the company. It doesn't work that way, but you can be the CEO. So someone who wants to be a professional healer and wants to help the lives of thousands of people can do that, but where are you right now? Well, I'm not helping anybody. Why? Because of low self-esteem, low self-worth. There's laziness, there's poverty consciousness, there's staying in my programs of not being good enough, blah, 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 blah. So then that means you have to take care of those programs and weaknesses and get after it and put yourself into the marketplace and get feedback from your product or service with other people. Make sense? Versus, I know I'm here. This is one I hear a lot. Listen to me very, very carefully. Whether you're in the spiritual world or not, this will be valuable for you. I've heard many, many people in my life over the course of 22 years in spiritual work, energy healing, meditation practices, that I'm destined for greatness. I'm destined for greatness. I'm destined to be of service. I'm destined to do great things. I'm destined to leave a magnificent impact in the world, right? I've heard that many, many times. And then you look at the person, what they're doing or not doing, and it's fantasy. It's self-delusion. It's lying to themselves, right? So they have very high ideals, but those ideals aren't backed up with action. There's nothing wrong with wanting to help people. There's nothing wrong with creating a product or service that will alleviate the suffering of others or make life easier for the masses. Nothing wrong. That's beautiful. That's entrepreneurship. That's capitalism, right? All these wonderful things. But you have to take action. You have to take action. The funny thing about my situation is for many, many years, I wanted to be a full-time healer, a full-time pranic healer. Like, that's all I ever wanted to be. I was like, I just want to be a full-time healer. I just want to meditate and heal people. That's it, right? And I constantly kept putting in effort. I kept hitting the wall, chiseling away, little by little by little by little, and then eventually something clicked. Something fell into place, and I was able to accomplish a lifelong dream of being a full-time healer. But it was not easy by any stretch of the imagination. It was spiritually taxing, mentally taxing, emotionally taxing, physically taxing, financially taxing, right? It required a tremendous amount of effort on the part of this soul to get to that point, right? But I wanted it more than anything else. I lived and breathed healing. People don't understand sometimes. That is correct. And that's why we're helping them with the understanding portion. Correct. So rid yourself of self-delusion. One of the most famous movies in the world that is practically on the lips of every person that is over 30 is The Matrix. What's The Matrix? The Matrix is the world that we think is real when there is a higher world, a higher level of truth, a higher reality that if we access that, everything below it makes sense. But remember red pill, blue pill? And the guy who took the red pill and then he had to live into the reality, he had to live at the higher level of truth. He says, why didn't I take the blue pill? Why didn't I take the blue pill? Meaning, why didn't I stay asleep? That's a big part of why we don't want to practice self-honesty, because when we practice self-honesty, it means we have to change. Or we're going to have something called cognitive dissonance, where there's a conflict between our values and how we're living out those values. We're incongruent. So you know how we make ourselves congruent? We lie to ourselves, so it alleviates the suffering of the cognitive dissonance, or we take action moving in the direction of our dreams, of our desires, of our goals and targets. So in my case, I want to be a professional full-time energy healer more than anything else on the planet. So I could have lied to myself and say, you know what, it's not that important, or you know what, I need to have all these other things in place. I need to be a master healer before I become a full-time healer. I need to have healed thousands of people before I can charge for healing, right? Or I can say, I don't care what it takes. I'm just going to move in the direction. I'm going to learn as I go. I'm going to make mistakes and stumble and trip and fall and figure things out and get feedback and get criticized and get judged and make mistakes and hurt people and hurt myself. But my intention is to keep moving forward. And that's what I've done every single year for the past 17 years. And it has not been a picnic. Anyone who thinks being a professional full-time energy healer is just like, oh yeah, you just whip out your crystal, you're sitting in a hammock, you're in the Bahamas, or you're in a tropical island, and it's like cakewalk. Not at all. The inner work that the masters in pranic healing have to do would blow your mind. Who they've had to become in this lifetime, never mind the work they've done in other incarnations, but who they've had to become and what they've had to sacrifice and the effort they've had to put in becoming master pranic healers, masters of their work, is incomprehensible to an ordinary person. I'm not saying that out of disrespect to anyone who's an ordinary person, because, hello, most of us are ordinary people. That's how it works, right? It's called the average. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you guys some food for thought, that we have to stop lying to ourselves. If you want this, go for it. Stop making excuses. Go for it. If you want to start a business, go for it. What's up, Chrissy out Namaste? If you want to be in a relationship, go for it. If you want to move to another city or country, go for it. If you want to fill in the blank, stop lying to yourself. And maybe that thing is you don't want to go for it. Maybe you're lying to yourself about that thing. Let's say you were brought up in a academic family, or a family that only valued professional careers, lawyer, doctor, engineer, professor. right? And so you're telling yourself, I got to be a lawyer, I got to be a doctor, I got to be a professor, I got to be whatever, whatever, whatever. And you're lying to yourself about that when deep down you want to be something else. You want to specialize in something else. So just be aware of where you're lying to yourself. Ishan says, "Dear, I helped so many people with the grace of Master and God, saved many lives, still doing that. Now I am myself in bad physical, mental, and financial condition. Don't know what to do." So you have a person who, right here, who has been an instrument of goodwill and the will to do good, and life isn't so good right now, and there are factors. Remember, good healers don't just have a narrow mind about, well, it's only this. So my specialization is what? Energy healing. My specialization is not diagnosing somebody from the viewpoint of a medical doctor. But healers that are good need to look at and consider every aspect of a person's life as to the factors as to why they're healing or not healing, or why they have or don't have that condition, right? So we go, all right, what's your physical health like? And then all the components of your physical life. What's your emotional health like? And all the components of your emotional health. What's your mental health like? All the components of your mental health. What's your spiritual practices or practice? What's your environmental influences? What's your family history? What's all aspects of you, so we have a clearer picture. But most people that are specialists only consider everything through that lens, right? It's kind of like if all you have is if all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail, and you can't look at it that way. That's why great healers have many, many tools in their toolbox to help somebody, and they also have many people they can refer out, which I actually have to improve on that. Many people that can refer out to, like, oh, I'm not a specialization in digestion issues. Who do I know who's a gastrologist? Who do I know that can help with that? Right? So you have to consider all factors to help somebody heal, to help somebody move forward. Lady, I'm a namaste. Make sense? So I hope that helps. We really got after it. We typically do like little baby 10, 15-minute streams, but we started when the sun was up, and we've been going till the sun went down, baby girls and baby boys. So I'm going to bid you a farewell. For those of you who need healing, feel free to reach out to me, christianrlong.com. Can't get enough of the CRL. Throat's a bit congested. My apologies. So I'm going to head to my hotel, get some sleep. I'm going to either meet with a client in the morning for coffee. We've never met each other. We've known each other for 4 years. We've never met each other face to face. So it's going to be exciting. So we're either going to have coffee in the morning, or we're going to have lunch in the afternoon. And then I'll be heading to, where am I going? Lake Tahoe. Ishan says, my clairvoyance is very open, so I almost see and feel all and help sometimes without even telling them. That's my issue. So energetic hygiene, or lack of energetic hygiene. Yeah. Ooh, ooh. So lots of love to you guys. May your day be blessed. May your week be blessed. May your month be blessed. May your life be blessed by God and my teacher, Grandmaster Cho Koksui. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. This is Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, wishing you a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and a beautiful life. Atma, Namaste. Bye-bye.